In this short lecture, we're going to talk about getting input from the user and also displaying a message box. This time we're going to get input from the user using a text box. There is a text box control in your toolbox. You're going to click on that and then click on the form. You can then resize it by dragging on the handles. The properties to be aware of specifically for the text box include its prefix for naming, which is TXT. The rest of the name should represent the input that you're getting. The text is actually what's displayed inside the text box. Normally, we will not use the text property for a text box. If you do use the text property, alignment is the alignment of that text relative to the text box. And remember, that text is actually inside the text box. Another useful property is the password character. So if you look in the properties and go down to password character, that allows you to set a character that's going to be displayed in the text box as the user types. So instead of showing the letters or numbers or symbols that the user types into the text box, it would show whatever character you put into the password care property. So in your toolbox, this is the location of the text box. Again, you'll click on it and then click on the form. This is the set size for a text box. You cannot change the height of it, only the width, and so you can grab the handle and change the width. Again, typically we're only going to be changing the name property to TXT, and then again whatever it's representing, and potentially the password character. Again, the text and the alignment is going to be what would be actually showing up in that white area inside the box. So instead of that, what we're going to use is called a prompt. We're going to add a label next to the text box, either to the left or the right, telling the user the purpose of that text box. So you're going to click on your label, add it next to your text box, change it to LBL, then if it's appropriate, whatever type of prompt. So it may be LBL name prompt. You're going to place that in whatever location, and then you're going to add in there directions such as enter and then whatever the information is. Enter your last name, enter your name. Now, another thing that we can do with the text box is add a text changed event. What happens when the user actually clicks in that white area and selects the text box? It executes a text change event. Now, a text box always returns a string. So if we want to get information from a text box, it needs to go into a string variable. You can put in an integer, and you can have it set to a numeric variable, and the compiler handles that for you. It does an automatic conversion. However, programmatically later, once you learn how to convert that, you should, for good programming style, actually set your text box to a string variable. Example of this is string example equals me.textexample.text. Now, that text change event we can use to clear a label so that if the user selects that text box again, it will actually get rid of whatever was being displayed in the label. To do that, inside the text change event, you would say something like LBL and then whatever you called it, dot text equals nothing, and nothing is a keyword, it will turn blue. Or LBL, again, whatever you called it, dot text equals quote, quote. No space or anything in between, and that will clear the label out. So another way besides a label to display output is to use a message box. A message box is predefined by Visual Basic, and you can use it to display output or to alert users to a message. To do this, you're going to type messagebox.show and then open parentheses, open quotation mark, and you'll put your string in. Close quotation, close parentheses. You can, just as in the label.text, you can use the ampersand if you want to show information from variables. So you could have just the dot show with a string, or you can have a dot show with strings and variable combinations in which you're going to use that ampersand between. So let's see how that looks. Okay, I have some code here, and I created a little example. So what I've done is I've declared a number, and I've gotten that number from the text box. So when I click this button, once I've got the input, it's going to show up in the output. It's also going to show up in a label. And then when I select the text box again, it's going to clear that label. So I'm going to enter in a number, say 55. I'll click Show Input. You automatically get this message box, which just has an OK button. I'm going to click OK. It also shows up in the label. Then when I click in the text box again, it clears out the information that's in my label. So as soon as I deleted the information from my text box, it got rid of the information that's in my label. So that is how to add text boxes and message boxes to your code.